Dolphins spoke in sentences, then the lab was shut down. The waves outside Kaikoura, New Zealand, crash against black rocks like a metronome. In 1987, those waves carried something no one expected. Not just clicks and whistles, but structured syntax, real grammar. Dolphins were forming novel sentences, and an artificial intelligence system was translating them in real time. Here's the thing, this wasn't fringe science. The research was peer-reviewed, published in Marine Mammal Science. The lead researcher, Dr. Elena Voss, had spent 7 years building the AI model. She called it Cetacean Syntax Analysis, or CSA. And for 3 months, in the summer of '87, it worked. Dolphins in the lab's open water pens didn't just mimic sounds. They combined them. They asked questions. They gave directions. One dolphin, a female named Moana, even named objects that weren't in the water, like a chair on the dock or a researcher's hat. But wait, if this was real, why haven't you heard about it? Because 3 weeks after the first paper went live, the Pentagon classified it as sensitive, but unclassified. That's government speak for we're not saying it's secret, but don't talk about it. Funding vanished overnight. Voss was accused of data manipulation. The lab's dolphins were relocated under cover of darkness. And just like that, the most advanced communication breakthrough in marine biology was erased. Here's what they don't want you to know. The lab sat on a narrow peninsula, a low concrete building with salt-crusted windows. Inside, the air smelled of brine and warm electronics. Voss's team had trained the dolphins using a touchscreen interface. Press a symbol, get a fish. But the dolphins started pressing sequences, not random ones. They built phrases. More fish, go left. Where ball? The AI wasn't just matching sounds to meanings. It was parsing grammar, subject, verb, object, just like human language. And that's when it changed. The first sign of trouble came in a fax. Not an email. This was '87. The paper was thin. The ink smudged. It was from the U.S. Office of Naval Research. They wanted the raw data, not the published findings. The raw audio files, the touchscreen logs, the AI's internal decision trees. Voss refused. She was a marine biologist, not a defense contractor. She had no security clearance. She didn't even know why they were asking. But the Pentagon had been listening to dolphins for decades. Project Deep Ops, a declassified Cold War program, had tried to train dolphins as underwater spies. They failed. The dolphins wouldn't follow orders. They'd swim away. They'd play with the mines instead of planting them. The program was scrapped. But the question remained, what if the dolphins weren't just smart? What if they were communicating in ways humans couldn't hear? Voss's work answered that question. And that made it dangerous. 2 weeks after the fax, the lab's funding was cut, not reduced, cut. The university cited budget reallocation. Voss appealed. She was told her work was not aligned with institutional priorities. Then came the accusations. A graduate student claimed she'd fabricated data. Another said the dolphins were being mistreated. The charges were thin, but they stuck. Voss was suspended pending an investigation. She never worked in academia again. And the dolphins, they were moved to a facility in California, the records say for their safety. But the facility wasn't a research lab. It was a naval base. Moana, the dolphin who named objects, was last seen in a tank with a harness, the kind used for sonar training. Here's the kicker. Voss's AI wasn't just translating dolphin sounds. It was learning. The system had started to predict what the dolphins would say next. Not perfectly, but better than chance. It was the first hint that dolphin communication might be generative, that they weren't just repeating phrases, but creating new ones on the fly. And that's what the Pentagon heard that they didn't want the world to know. Because if dolphins could speak in sentences, they weren't just animals. They were persons. And if they were persons, you couldn't train them to plant mines. You couldn't keep them in tanks. You couldn't treat them as property. The lab in Kaikoura was small. The team was 6 people. The budget was less than $100,000 a year. but the implications were global. And that's why it had to disappear. Voss tried to fight back. She leaked the audio files to a journalist. The story ran in a small New Zealand paper. The next day, the paper's office was broken into. The editor's notes were stolen. The journalist was transferred to the sports desk. The files were never published. But here's the thing about the truth. It doesn't stay buried. In 2012, a Freedom of Information Act request forced the Pentagon to release a single document. It was a memo from the Office of Naval Research. The subject line read, "Potential operational applications of cetacean syntax analysis." The body was mostly redacted. But one sentence remained. If validated, this research could redefine human-cetacean interaction protocols. They didn't say animal protocols. They said human-cetacean. As if dolphins were on equal footing. And that's the real reason the lab was shut down. It wasn't about science. It was about control. If dolphins could speak, they could testify. They could demand rights. They could tell us what they think of us. And that was a conversation the Pentagon wasn't ready to have. Voss is still alive. She lives in a small town on the South Island. She doesn't give interviews, but she did leave one clue. In 2015, she published a paper under a pseudonym. It was about dolphin memory. The last line read, "Some doors should never have been closed. The waves in Kaikoura still crash against the rocks. The lab is gone. The dolphins are gone. But the audio files, they're still out there. Search Project Cetacean Syntax. The declassified files are still online."